Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Vijayata Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamalini Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangraye Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajeshu Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Vakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumartho Maha Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Madamidam Tatra Dharana Paraha Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanath Swaminiti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swaminiti Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaurakatha Dhamadaya Nagare Brahmatarine Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangur Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurung Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hare Krishna. So we welcome all of our wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis on YouTube Live and on Facebook Live. We welcome each and every one of you to session 7, where we are going to start the very auspicious second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we saw how Prabhu concluded yesterday, the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we concluded that. And Prabhu very beautifully described how Srila Sukadeva Goswami appeared on the scene where Maharaj Parikshit was surrounded with so many sages. And how Srila Sukadeva Goswami was told by the sages that about Maharaj Parikshit's condition, that he had only 7 days to live. And Maharaj Parikshit inquires from Srila Sukadeva Goswami. And that's how he starts. And that chapter 19, in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam concludes with that particular appearance of Srila Sukadeva Goswami on the scene. So this second canto starts The second canto is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation. So the entire description of the cosmic manifestation is found in this particular chapter, this canto, and this canto has 10 chapters. So we will try to cover these 10 chapters in the next 3 sessions. Today we will try to cover 1 to 3 chapters. So before we get into the second canto, since we already described the auspicious appearance of Srila Sukadeva Goswami, we thought we would start off with a beautiful narration of a pastime of Sri Shuka. You see, in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, whenever we read the Bhagavad Gita or we read, even Chaitanya Charitamrita, over there, everywhere, even Srimad Bhagavatam says, Raja Uvacha, which means Parikshit Maharaj is speaking. And whenever it is talking about Sukadeva Goswami, it doesn't say Shukadev Goswami Uvacha. It doesn't say that. It says Sri Shuka Uvacha. There's a very, very specific reason why Sri Shuka is glorified here. And who is this personality, Sri Shukadev Goswami? We will just talk about that for the next 5-7 minutes, and then we will dive into Canto 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Sri Shuka, he is the most glorious parrot who resides on the left hand of Srimati Radharani. And one time, this Sri Shuka, he heard, the word spread that Lord Shiva was narrating Srimad Bhagavatam to his glorious wife Parvati Devi. And Sri Shuka was so inquisitive to hear about the glorious pastimes of his beloved lordships, Shri Radha and Krishna. Sri Shuka immediately flew to the place where Lord Shiva was residing in Kailash with his wife Parvati Devi. And just above a tree where both these divine couple were sitting, Sri Shuka perched on a branch of the tree. And right below the tree, Parvati Devi was listening to Srimad Bhagavatam as being told by Lord Shiva himself, the Param Vaishnav, reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. And Sri Shuka was very eager to listen, very eager, very inquisitive. But then Lord Shiva, before he started reciting, he told Parvati Devi that, my dear Devi, the greatest trouble in this, when we try to do Bhagavad Katha, your very, very confidential associate, you are Mahamaya. One of your manifestations is Mahamaya. And your very confidential associate is Nidra Devi. So Nidra Devi, the goddess of sleep, she comes and she just, eludes everyone and she puts them to sleep very conveniently wherever Bhagavad Katha is going on. So therefore, not to be influenced by Nidra Devi, I request you, my dear Devi, that whenever I am saying some sentences, I want you to repeat by saying, acknowledge. Because, sometimes when I'm reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, I may go into ecstasy and my eyes may become closed. I will dive deep into some ecstatic kathas. I will not even realize whether your eyes are open, whether you are still awake and listening to the katha or not, but I can hear you. So, every time I'm saying something, I want to keep hearing that you are acknowledging whatever I'm saying by saying, like that. So Parvati Devi nodded very blissfully. He said, no, don't nod because I might not see you when you're nodding. I want you to speak by saying, acknowledge that. Parvati Devi said, I will. And then Lord Shiva started his katha and Sri Shuka was hearing all this. And then Lord Shiva went into deep ecstasy while he was narrating some of the pastimes. And surely enough, the very, very confidential and dear associate of Mahamaya, Nidra Devi, she came. And Parvati Devi very conveniently just went into the beautiful lap, the very, very inviting lap of Nidra Devi. And she dozed off. And as soon as she dozed off, Sri Shuka was seeing that Parvati Devi is going like this, and eyes are closed, and she's almost on the verge of snoring. Then what's going to happen? Lord Shiva will stop narrating the Bhagavad Katha. So Sri Shuka could not take that chance. So Sri Shuka, parrots are very good at imitating. So the parrot Sri Shuka, it started saying very, very inquisitively, imitating the beautiful voice of Parvati Devi. So Sri Shuka was acknowledging every statement that Lord Shiva was making. And Sri Shuka even Sri Shuka was feeling very ecstatic when he was listening, how Krishna was dancing on the hoods of Kaliya, how Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill, all these beautiful pastimes. When Sri Shuka was listening, Sri Shuka was getting very ecstatic, and he was flapping its wings and saying, with great eagerness. Sri Shuka was listening with great ecstatic feelings. Sri Shuka was listening and acknowledging to Lord Shiva's words. Lord Shiva found it a little fishy. That Parvati Devi, this much inquisitiveness, really? When I started, it was not this much inquisitive. So then Lord Shiva just opened his eyes. And as soon as he opened both his eyes, his third eye also opened, because he got so angry that Parvati Devi is sleeping. But who is this making this noise? He was really disturbed, and he said, who is imitating the noise, the words of my dear wife? Who is it? And then Sri Shuka, he got really scared. And then, it just started flying away. And as soon as Sri Shuka flew away from there, Lord Shiva took his trishul and said, I'm not going to leave you, you parrot. I'm going to really chastise you. How dare you imitate the words of my wife? So Lord Shiva started chasing behind Sri Shuka, and Sri Shuka started flying. And some of the other parrot bird friends of Sri Shuka came and said, why are you flying away? Who are you so scared of? And Sri Shuka said, you see Lord Shiva coming behind me. This is what happened, and he's behind me right now. But I just want to listen to Bhagavatam. That's all I want. So then the parrot friend said, don't worry, Sri Shuka, we have solution for you. Why don't you go to Badrikashram? Go to Vyasapothi. There, Sriman Vyasadev, he is reciting Srimad Bhagavatam to his blessed wife. So go there. You can listen to Srimad Bhagavatam from Vyasadev. So Sri Shuka said, okay, I'm going all the way to the Himalayas. And Sri Shuka flew all the way to the Himalayas. It ascended all the way there, went into Badrikashram, it entered into Vyasapothi, and it started listening to the beautiful narration of Srimad Bhagavatam from Vyasadev himself. And at that moment, the wife of Vyasadev, she was listening like this, with awe. Krishna's pastimes are so amazing. He's so amazing. And her mouth was literally open like this. And then Sri Shuka did not know where to hide, because Lord Shiva was still chasing behind Sri Shuka. So at that time, Sri Shuka just took a dive straight into the mouth of Vyasadeva's wife. And through her mouth, he entered into her womb. And he listened to the entire katha of Srimad Bhagavatam from Srila Vyasadeva while being in the womb of his glorious wife. And Lord Shiva came, and Lord Shiva could understand that, this is Sri Shuka has already entered the mouth of Vyasadeva's wife, and he said, this son who is going to come out and who is going to be your glorious son, this is none other than Sri Shuka, but when he comes out, call him Sukadeva Goswami. So Lord Shiva gave the coronation of the name to Sukadeva Goswami, and he left from there. Both Vyasadeva and his wife offered obeisances to Lord Shiva, the Param Vaishnava, and they continued their Bhagavad Katha. So we see how Sri Shuka, with so much inquisitiveness, so much eagerness, he was listening to Bhagavad Katha. Such was the eagerness of Sri Shuka. With that prayer to Sri Shuka, today, let us all very, very earnestly pray to Srila Sukadeva Goswami that the eagerness, the inquisitiveness, and the enthusiasm with which Sri Shuka heard Srimad Bhagavatam, and the same enthusiasm with which Sri Shuka is now going to recite Srimad Bhagavatam for the benefit of Maharaj Parikshit. We pray to Srila Sukadeva Goswami so that we may be also blessed with that same inquisitiveness, with that same eagerness, and with that same enthusiasm. So with that humble prayer, we will start the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. The first chapter is entitled The First Step in God Realization. So in this chapter, of course, we saw how in the end of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it ends with the appearance of Srila Sukadeva Goswami and the sages appointing him to narrate Srimad Bhagavatam for the benefit of Parikshit Maharaj and the entire mankind. So in this first chapter of the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, very, very important verses are found. Very important verses. One of the very, very important verses in this first chapter, text 2, is Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nrinam Shanti Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatatvam Griheshu Grihamedhinam. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor. Sukadeva Goswami is saying that there are so many subject matters for people to hear in this material world. Talks of spiritual values do not interest people, because they feel that there's no spice in it. What spice we get out of criticizing others, talking bad about others, talking ill about others, wishing that something bad happens to another person. There's spice in it. There is variety in it. There is action in it. That is our naiveness. That is our foolishness. So that is why Sukadeva Goswami is starting by saying, Shrota Vyadini Rajendra, Nrinam Shanti Sahasrasha. That there are millions and millions of topics that materialistic people find to absorb themselves apart from Krishna Katha. And in text 10, Sukadeva Goswami is saying that very Srimad Bhagavatam I am reciting before you because you are the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna. So Sukadeva Goswami is giving a qualification for those who have to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam. That because if we are only sincere persons who are wanting to make a change in our life by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, only then we can become proper recipients of listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. And he's saying that one who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are so many devotees around the world that they literally take this as a practice in their sadhana. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. That they every day, without fail, at least listen to one Srimad Bhagavatam verse. Recite at least one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Because that makes us achieve unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then Srila Sukadeva Goswami also goes on to explain that, the process of surrender is something that happens over a period of time, through the process of sadhana. But there are personalities, like one special personality is named in this first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam in second canto, where Sukadeva Goswami is talking about Khatvanga Maharaj. He says in text 13 that the saintly king Khatvanga, after being informed that the duration of his life would be only a moment more, at once freed himself from all material activities and took shelter of the Supreme Lord and achieved the highest perfection of life. He went back home, back to Godhead. Just one moment he surrendered to Krishna. So such personalities also are there in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but that is very rare. Sukadeva Goswami explains. So Maharaj Parikshit, Sukadeva Goswami is telling Maharaj Parikshit consequently in this very chapter, he's saying that Khatvanga Maharaj knew that he had one moment to go. And you, my dear Parikshit Maharaj, you are also very fortunate that you also know how much time you have. Who can be more fortunate than that? We all know that we have to die. That's the ultimate fact of life. But we don't know how long we have. We just don't know that. So Parikshit Maharaj is being told by Sukadeva Goswami here that, my dear Parikshit Maharaj, you know that you have 7 days to live. So you can utilize this given time to engage the mind, body, and senses in the devotional service of the Lord. And Sukadeva Goswami continues to say that, oh my dear king, by this system of remembrance and by being fixed in the habit of seeing the all good personal conception of the Lord, one can very, very soon attain devotional service to the Supreme Lord. He's talking about direct sadhana here. Direct, Vaidhi Bhakti, devotional service is being talked about here by Sukadeva Goswami. So here in this first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, we will see that how, just like in the Bhagavad Gita, that when Arjuna was confused about the rendering of his, duty, how Krishna started by explaining from the very bottom. He didn't directly bring Arjuna to the level of devotional service. He directly didn't say that, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. He could have said that. But Krishna gradually built up to the point where Arjuna would be ready to accept Sarva Dharman Parityajya, abandoning all varieties of religion and simply surrender to Krishna. That's the highest teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. But Krishna had to go through 18 chapters with Arjuna to bring him to that level. So similarly here, we will see how Srila Sukadeva Goswami is also going to start from a very preliminary level. From the material realm, he's going to start about how, whatever we see, however things are there in this material world, we see mountains, we see rivers, we see different personalities, how we can relate them all to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That technique is the preliminary understanding. So that is first being taught by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. That in the verses from 26 through 37 in this very chapter, Srila Sukadeva Goswami is explaining the Virat Rupa, the universal form of the Lord. He's saying that how he starts from describing the lotus feet of this Virat Rupa, of this universal form of the Lord. He says that the Patala, Rasatala, Talatala, these lower planetary systems, they form the lotus feet, the thighs, the knees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Bhuloka, which is the earthly planets, form the waist, the navel of the Supreme Lord. And then the Janarloka, the Maharloka, the Tapaloka, all of this form the upper body of the Supreme Lord. And then it goes on to explain that how the lotus face of the Lord resembles Satyaloka, which is the abode of Lord Brahma. And so many things, like how the eyelids are like the day and the night of the Supreme Lord. How, in the movements of the eyebrows of this Virat Rupa, Brahma and similar Supreme Personalities are residing there. So his palate is the director of water, Varuna, and the juice of essence of everything is in his tongue. So many ways the Lord is described here in the Virat Rupa. It is said that the god of death, Yama, is the jaws of teeth of this Virat Rupa. So how each and everything in this material world is in connection to this Virat Rupa is talked and taught by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. Such beautiful ways. And then finally, he says that the Virat Purusha's face is the Brahmanas. His arms are the Kshatriyas, his thighs are the Vaishyas, and the Shudras are under the protection of his lotus feet. And so like this, the Virat Rupa is encompassing the entire material creation. Basically, that is the way that this first chapter is concluding. It is saying that Shukadev Goswami is saying that one should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. Very powerful statement. You see, when we are imagining things, when we are dreaming, we are in our own world. So, infinity is the limit, right? When there's no connection in our dreams, sometimes we can imagine anything and everything that we want. But here, Srila Shukadev Goswami is giving us an outer boundary of how we must process our thoughts, so that in our thoughts, in that entire diameter, the Supreme Lord can fit in. That's how Srila Shukadev Goswami is directing the thought process of Parikshit Maharaj, and thus by all of us. So chapter 2, it's a level high. That coming from the Virat Rupa, the material cosmic manifestation of the Lord, now, in chapter 2, Srila Shukadev Goswami is describing the chapters entitled The Lord in the Heart, which means that he is describing the beautiful Lord who is residing in our heart as the Paramatma. And a very specific description is given of the Supreme Lord, that who is residing in our heart as the Paramatma. It's a very beautiful chapter, where he is described that the Lord who resides in our heart as Paramatma, his size is 8 inches. Lord Narayan is 8 inches, who is residing in our heart. Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, who is the Paramatma in our heart. He is having a conch shell, a club, lotus, and Sudarshan in his hand. His mouth expresses his happiness. His eyes are like lotus petals. He's wearing yellow silk garments. He has gold jewelry all over his body. Beautiful earrings are glistening in his ears. His lotus feet are placed over the whorls of the lotus-like hearts of great mystics. So the Lord is in a standing position. And, our heart is like that bloomed lotus. And the Lord is standing like this in all his majesty and his opulence. And it is said that on the chest, Lord, there's a reason for this, that this shows that how Krishna is the cows are so dear to Krishna, that the calf himself is residing in the chest of Krishna. So like this, it is explained that how beautifully, there are so many jewels that are adorning the beautiful body of the Lord. And it is said that the Lord's hair is also oiled, and it is curling with a bluish tint. And his beautiful smile is very, very pleasing, and it attracts and captivates the heart. Such beautiful description of the Paramatma. And this chapter, text 13, also gives, the second chapter, text 13, gives a complete description of how we should take darshan of the Supreme Lord. That we should start from the lotus feet, then move up to the ankles, then the thighs, then of course, before that, the knees, then the thighs, then the waist, the navel of the Supreme Lord, the broad chest of the Supreme Lord, the hands and arms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the conch-like neck of the Supreme Lord, the lotus face of the Lord, the lotus eyes, and then the beautiful hair of the Lord. This is how we take darshan of the Supreme Lord. So the process of meditation should actually always begin from the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the process. Then Srila Shukadev Goswami describes a very important point here in the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam in second canto, where he says how a yogi leaves their body. Now, a yogi in this particular chapter Srila Sukadeva Goswami is actually giving the description of how a dhyana yogi, an ashtanga yogi, and a bhakti yogi, all of them, how they leave their bodies and how and what is their destination. All of that is described here in this particular chapter. It is said that how the yogis, they first regulate their breathing. They move their life air from the navel to their chest, to their throat, to their lips, and they fix it in between their eyebrows, and then they raise it to the brahmarandra, to the in between the skull, and then they pass their life air out. That's how they are able to decide where they want to go. If a yogi at this point, Shukadev Goswami also describes that if a person at this stage, they do not have any material desires, then I'll tell you what happens to them, Shukadev Goswami is saying. But if a person has any material desires at this point, then they go back to the cycle of birth and death. But if not, if they do not have the desire for any material, desires whatsoever, if they don't have any material desires, then they pass over, it is said, the Milky Way. The Milky Way is talked about here. Srila Prabhupada is putting the word Milky Way in the translation. And there, then he goes to the planet of the fire god, which is called Vaishvanara, where he is completely purified. Then he crosses the circle of Shishumara. Then he goes to Maharloka and then to Satyaloka. At Satyaloka, the gross coverings of the earth, water, fire, air, and ether are purified. Then the mind, intelligence, and ego, slowly, when the planets are going higher and higher and higher, the mind and the intelligence also become purified as the planets go higher and higher. When they come to the ego is at one point, there is something called as false ego, which is false identity. Then there is true ego, which is true identity. So false ego is how we falsely misidentify. The soul misidentifies with the body. But true ego is that we are eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is said that only the purified soul can attain the perfection of associating with the personality of Godhead in complete bliss and satisfaction in its constitutional state, which is when they develop the true ego that they are eternal part and parcel of Krishna, that they are eternal servitors of Krishna. So the last verse of the second chapter talks about that those who drink through oral reception, fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees, purify the polluted aim of life known as material enjoyment, and thus go back home, back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, although Srila Shukadev Goswami is describing the destinations of the different yogis to different planetary systems based on the level that they are in, whether they are still at the level of purifying only their gross material body. If they have purified their mind and intelligence, then they come only up to the level of Satyaloka. Then once they purify their ego, that's when they transcend from the material planet to the spiritual world. And the highest form of expressing our eternal constitutional position is that we recognize who we are originally, constitutionally. So all of this is described here, and the particular last verse is the crux of the statement, that only through the oral reception faithfully of the nectarian message of Krishna can give us the ultimate perfection of life. Chapter 3, we come to pure devotional service, the change in heart. That's the name of the chapter. And the chapter 3 starts with descriptions of people who desire different things, and they should worship different personalities. The second verse of this particular chapter is very, very long. And there are complete descriptions, like, if you want good progeny, then you worship the Prajapatis. If you want powerful sex life, then you worship Indradeva. If you want good fortune, then you worship Durga Devi. But if you want spiritual advancement, you worship Lord Vishnu. So like this, everything is given very beautifully in the second verse of this third chapter of the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Shukadev Goswami goes on to describe that what are some of the beautiful nectarian qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why devotees choose to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. From text 3 to text 19, Shukadev Goswami is describing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And text 20, very, very important verse. It is saying, Bile Batururkrama Vikramanye Nashranvata Karnapute Narasya Jivhasati Dardurike Vasuta Nachopagayati Urgaya Gatha. One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. What a powerful statement. I remember in my early days of Krishna consciousness, I remember my father, this was one of his very, very famous and favorite verses. And it was so dear to him that he actually made us by heart this particular verse. And my mother, myself, my father, all of us would recite this verse. And we would listen to Srila Prabhupada's lectures based on this particular verse. Such a powerful, powerful statement this is. That the jivha is asati. Jivha sati dardurikeva suta. Jivha is asati. Sati means chaste, right? Sati means one who is chaste. Who is a chaste lady? One who is very obedient to their husbands. They are called as chaste ladies. Who is an asati? Who is unchaste? Is that other than her husband who thinks about anybody else? That kind of a woman is called unchaste. So here Shukadev Goswami is calling our tongue to be unchaste if the tongue does not glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if our ears are, these ear holes are just like snake pits, the snake holes, if in these ear holes, if the nectarian, rasa of listening to Krishna Katha is not going in through these ears, it's like snakes are slithering in otherwise. That is how powerful this particular verse is. So we should be very, very careful that, that's why it is said that amongst all of our senses, the tongue is supposed to be the most powerful because all our senses have only one activity. Eye only sees, nose only smells, ears only hear. But the tongue has two activities. It is eating, it tastes, and it also speaks. So therefore it is said, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyer sevun mukhe hi jivhadau swayam eva spuratyadaha. That when we start our devotional service by engaging the tongue in Krishna's service, then automatically devotional service sprouts in our heart. That is the beauty of the tongue. So we must try that this process of devotional service is actually trying to make our unchaste tongue to be chaste to Guru and Krishna. Let us sincerely try to do that. Let us sincerely try to be chaste in just talking about Guru and Krishna and to be just glorifying devotees, not to use our tongue in anything other than that. That is something that is a big austerity in Kali Yuga. Text 21 again goes on to say that how, the turban that is there on the head is just a heavy weight if that head does not bow down at the lotus feet of Krishna. Then it is saying that the eyes who does not see, the eyes, if they are not seeing the beautiful form of Krishna and his devotees, are like those that are printed on the peacock feather. The peacock feathers also have nice eyes in them. So they're just printed. Whenever I read this particular verse, I am reminded of a very funny Tom and Jerry joke. All of us definitely grew up seeing Tom and Jerry cartoons. But Tom and Jerry, one time, Tom's master was leaving, the house. And she told Tom that, Tom, there is this very naughty mouse. It comes and eats all my cheese. So you should stay awake and guard all the cheese in the house. Tom said, yes, 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 I will take care of it very nicely. And then the master left, and Tom was feeling so sleepy, so sleepy. So then Tom nicely closed his eyes and he took a paintbrush and he just drew eyes that were open on top of his eyes which were closed. And then, he was nicely sleeping. But then and Jerry came in the meantime, saw that Tom was sleeping, and he nicely ate all the cheese and he went away. But then when the master came and saw that Tom is actually still awake and he has guarded the cheese. But look, where is the cheese? He said, oh, Tom, good boy, you have guarded all the cheese. But Tom basically deceived. So our eyes should not be like that which are painted. And how can it be painted? When we are utilizing the eyes to see all nonsensical things. When we are not using our eyes to see the beautiful form of Krishna and his beloved devotees, the eyes are just printed eyes. And legs that don't travel to holy places are like tree trunks. And text 23 is a very, very powerful statement. That's the conclusion of this particular chapter. It says that the person who has not at any time received the dust of the feet of the Lord's pure devotee upon his head is certainly a dead body. And the person who has never experienced the aroma of the tulasi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing. So Bhakta Pada Renu is being talked about here, that how the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee can transform a person from a dead body to a living body. That is the potency of Bhakta Pada Renu. I'm just narrating this pastime because I have lived through this. My father, His Grace Bhaktajana Priya Prabhu, in Mayapur, my parents are in Mayapur, and my father, his spiritual life actually was transformed. His life was transformed. The start of his spiritual life was by this Bhakta Pada Renu. He is a living example of this particular statement. What had happened is, Srila Jayapataka Maharaj, our Guru Maharaj, he was visiting the place where my father was staying in the Middle East. And there was a beach, and Jayapataka Maharaj loves to go into the beach. So all the devotees he had taken for a small picnic, they were all playing in the water. And then after some time, Jayapataka Maharaj came out of the water. And when we come out of the water, what happens into the beach? The sand collects in the feet. So Jayapataka Maharaj sat on a beach chair, and my father, who was a new bhakta at that time, he just very spontaneously, nobody had told him to do anything, but he just spontaneously went and he just started removing the dust from the lotus feet of Srila Jayapataka Maharaj. And as if being directed by the Paramatma in his heart, he was just putting the dust of the lotus feet of Jayapataka Maharaj on his head. And he tells us till today, he remembers this pastime, and he says, that was the point that Krishna truly had mercy upon me and he changed my heart. And my father becoming a devotee, he actually transformed the lives of so many of us who were connected to him. It was because of that moment, of that association, that he put the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee upon his head. That was the transformational point, not only for him, but those of us, his family, from my mother's side, from even my father's side. So many of our families are now initiated devotees. And, so many devotees around the world are actually affected by the preaching and the life of my father. So that was the transformational point, that how glorious this particular statement is of Srila Sukadeva Goswami, that Bhakta Pada Renu, the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee, transforms the heart. It Once we place that dust on our head, then we are not anymore a dead body. That is the verdict of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, with this, we will end here today. This concludes chapter 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. We will end here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If there's any questions, comments, or reflections, we can take that now. Thank you very much. I see Madhavi Channa, she's asking a question. Hello, Madhavi Gopi, Hare Krishna. The question is that what is the verse number from chapter 2 about how one should use the sense objects? Give me a minute. I will just look into that and I will give you the detail over here in a chat very shortly. I'll have to just look into that to get the exact verses from this particular chapter. I will give it to you in just a minute. If there's any more questions, please let us know. Otherwise, we really thank all of our devotees who have joined us online. Jyoti Mataji, no questions, I believe. And we also like to thank all our Facebook viewers, Facebook Live devotees. Thank you all for joining in today. Okay, so it is from text 5 to 8, Madhavi. From chapter 2, text 5 through 8 is describing about these sense objects. Ashesha Gauranga Prabhu, I can accept Sri Shuka went to Parvati mouth, but I don't know how the Lord Shiva could not notice the presence of Shuka. Anyway, question, why Canto 1 is titled Creation? Nothing about that topic is there. Well, Ashesha Gauranga Prabhu, thank you for your question. But I request you to just listen to the first part of the story, that Sri Shuka did not enter the mouth of Parvati Devi, but he rather entered the mouth of the wife of Vyasadeva when she was listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Parvati Devi, she was actually sleeping, and Sri Shuka was perched on a branch above the tree where Lord Shiva was sitting and narrating the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Lord Shiva could definitely not see, someone who's above him like that. So just request you to listen to that. Why Canto 1 is entitled Creation? Nothing about that topic is there. Well, the creation in the sense is, it basically means, Srila Prabhupada actually explains this in the introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. He says that creation literally means the start or the beginning. So Canto 1, in that sense, is, like the creation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It doesn't necessarily mean the creation of the material world. It doesn't really mean that, because the creation of the material world is coming next in the other cantos. But that's why it is called as creation, because it marks the beginning of the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam. So I hope this answers your questions, Prabhu. Vrindavani Mataji, thank you for your comment. Jayananda Gauranga Prabhu, Barshana Chitra Mataji, thank you for your comments. Meena Mataji, thank you. Jai Shankar Prabhu, how do we always realize that the Supreme Lord is in my heart and watching me as Paramatma? Very, very nice question, Prabhu. Just like when we were children, how long did it take us to realize that going to school was a good thing for us? Our parents would have to literally drag us out of bed every single day and, just push us off to school and tell us, going to school is good, going to school is good. So by, listening to them again and again, by even realizing it while we are going to school and while we experience that, yes, we are indeed learning something. which is going to be good for our future, we actually come to realize the fact that yes, going to school is a very good thing. So similarly, when we realize that by constant practice, by constant repetition, when we are realizing that, when we keep hearing that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Paramatma in our heart, that no action, no word, no thought goes without it getting registered with the Paramatma in our heart. The more we think about it consciously, the more, we try to practice this in our day-to-day life. The more we practice, the sooner we will realize. We are not really Khatvanga Maharaj who can in one moment, achieve perfection. We need to engage in a constant kind of a Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. So when we are chanting the holy names, when we are engaging in association of devotees, that's how we can one day hope that this realization will come to us. So I hope this answers your questions, Prabhu. Thank you. I believe there's a question over Facebook too. 2 questions. Okay. Divyangi Lalita, a question is very beautiful, Katha. Thanks. You had mentioned that there is a calf print on Krishna's chest. Can you please explain a bit? Sure. As I said, that Krishna, for Krishna, he is Go Brahmana Hitayacha. That, in fact, it is also said that in Krishna's chest, there is also a print of a feet. One print of a feet is also there. That is the feet of Bhrigumuni. It is explained that, Bhrigumuni, when he came to test who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he went to Lord Brahma, he went to Lord Shiva. He saw that they are not definitely the Supreme Lord. But when he came to Lord Vishnu, he saw that Lord Vishnu is nicely relaxing and he didn't even get up. So Bhrigu got really, really angry and he just kicked the Supreme Lord on his chest. And Lord Vishnu's reaction was, my dear Brahmana, hey Brahman Devta, my heart is like a stone. I hope your soft lotus feet is not hurt. So Krishna, we glorify and worship Krishna as Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagadhitaya Shri Krishnaya, Govindaya Namo Namaha. Krishna is the benefactor of the cow and the Brahmanas. So therefore, both the calf print and the feet of Bhrigu representing the Brahmanas is present in Krishna's heart, just to emphasize this fact that how both the cow and the Brahmanas are dear to Krishna. I hope that answers your question. Shamala Gopika. Shukadev Goswami, I heard that is liberated but in Brahman realization, but after hearing Bhagavatam, he becomes a pure devotee. Yes, that is a fact. That when he actually, but as per today's session, it is mentioned as Shuka is parrot of Radharani. Yes, Sri Shuka is, eternally Sri Shuka resides as the parrot. That is Sri Shuka's position as the parrot in Srimati Radharani's left hand. That is the eternal position of Sri Shuka. But when Sri Shuka manifested as Shukadev Goswami, in order to glorify the Srimad Bhagavatam, in order to increase the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam, he actually first manifested as a Brahmavadi. So when he manifested as a Brahmavadi, he actually, by Shravanam of the Bhagavad Katha from Vyasadeva, he was transformed into a pure devotee. Just like the 4 Kumaras, they were also Brahmavadis. But when they smelt the tulasi leaves that were offered at the lotus feet of Lord Narayan, at that was the point that they became pure devotees. So like this, the important aspects of smelling the tulasi leaf, of listening to Bhagavad Katha, these aspects of devotional service is being stressed here, that how important it is to do these devotional tenets. So I hope that answers your question. Manjuali Vraja Gopi Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandavats. At what stage the coverings, mind, intelligence, and false ego leaves the soul when our journey towards the spiritual world? As I was saying, that the mind and the intelligence, they are in the highest planets of this material world. It is said that the moon planet it is all made up of mind. Everything is made up of mind there. And Lord Brahma's body, everyone who resides in Brahma Loka, their body is made up of intelligence only. So everyone who's residing on the moon planet, their bodies are made out of mind. So that's how subtle bodies go. So mind and intelligence, the last, the topmost planet in this material world is Satyaloka. So mind and intelligence get purified just till that position. But once we transcend the mind intelligence, once we have purified our ego also, once our ego becomes from false ego to true ego, that's when we transcend from the material world to the spiritual world. That brings us to the spiritual world. I hope that answers your question. Anuradha, Mataji. When we are chanting, we try to focus on our Paramatma or external form of Krishna, like the one we see in the deity form. Thank you for the wonderful class. Okay. Do we try to focus on the Paramatma, or do we try to focus on the external form of the deity? The answer is none. We actually try to focus on listening to the holy name. When we are chanting the holy name, the only thing that we need to do is Shravanam and Kirtanam. Kirtanam and Shravanam. So we just try to listen to the holy name. That's all we try to do. We don't try to think about the Paramatma in our heart. We don't try to think of the form of Krishna, try to, meditate on the form of Krishna. No, because in the stage that we are, our minds will be easily diverted, very, very easily. So therefore it is said that Nam, Rupa, Guna and Leela. So when our chanting becomes more and more purified, then the Rupa, the Guna and the Leela means, the Rupa means the form of the Lord, the Guna is the qualities of the Lord, Leela, the pastimes of the Lord, they will automatically manifest. We don't have to strive to artificially try to think of the Paramatma nor the form of Krishna externally in the form of deity. No, simply try to listen. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just listen each and every syllable very, very attentively, so that our ears, just like we heard here in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd chapter, we heard here in 2nd Canto 3rd chapter that our ear holes should be transformed from being like snake pits. So how can we transform that? By proper Shravana, by properly hearing. And when we properly hear, the nectar enters through our ears, it goes into the residence of our heart becomes purified, the Lord's manifestation is automatically revealed. Swayam eva spurat yadaha. We don't have to aspire for it. Don't do it artificially. Just chant and listen. Then the Lord will manifest automatically. I hope that answers your question, Anuradha. Thank you for the very beautiful question. Jai Shankar Prabhu. I think we answered that question over YouTube. We answered that question, Prabhu. I hope that answers your question. Pallavi Mishra Mataji, thank you. I've heard so many. What's that? No, Pallavi? Where did that go? Sorry. Okay. Heard so many wonderful things about you from... Okay. That's a comment. Thank you for that. Pallavi Mataji, thank you for joining in. Anju Agarwal, in this Kali Yuga, which is the best way to control intelligence, ego, mind, and body to reach our soul and attain moksha? Very, very beautiful question, Anju Agarwalji. Thank you so much for asking this question. The answer is given in the Kali Santarana Upanishad. It is said, Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Namaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nastieva, Nastieva, Nastieva Gatiranyatha. It is said that in this Kali Yuga, there's no other means of realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead other than the chanting of the holy names, the chanting of the holy names, the chanting of the holy names. And it is also said, what holy names do we really chant? It is said also that Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashaka Nam, Kali Kalmashanashanam, Nataha Parataropaya, Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. That it is the verdict of all Vedic scriptures that in this Kali Yuga, that these 16 iti shodashaka nam, these 16 names of God, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is the only way to destroy the ill effects of Kali Yuga. Kali Kalmashanashanam. Nataha Parataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. So I hope this answers your question. Thank you very much for attending. Radhika Nam Mataji. My son Advaita has a question. Why is Radharani not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam? Advaita, you have asked the perfect question. Thank you so much, Beta, for asking this very beautiful question. Because the answer is that Sri Sukadeva Goswami, his master is Srimati Radharani. Because Sri Shuka resides on the left hand of Srimati Radharani. So Sri Shuka, if he takes the name of Srimati Radharani, it is said that he would go into such deep ecstasy that it would become impossible for him to complete Srimad Bhagavatam within the limited time of 7 days that was given to him. Because Radha, this name Radha, gives so much ecstasy to Sri Shuka that he will not be able to complete Srimad Bhagavatam for Parikshit Maharaj in 7 days and 7 nights. Because that was the time frame that was given to Shukadev Goswami. So that is why Srimati Radharani's name is directly not mentioned. It's not even uttered by Sri Shuka in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. She is mentioned as Anya Radhita, that as, the gopi who is the highest of all, who is the greatest worshipper of Krishna. That's how she is mentioned. This is a very, very beautiful question, Advaita. I hope this answers your question. Swati Pallod Mataji. Please give some practical tips how we can try to realize that Paramatma is living in everyone's heart. Shweta Manjari. Yes, the Paramatma living in everybody's heart. When we try to see everybody on the level that, yes, everyone is just like me. I am a part and parcel of Krishna. So everyone is also part and parcel of Krishna. As I said, it takes practice for us to change our thought process. When we are raised, like when we grow up, I remember when we used to read science, we knew that, the solar system has only 9 planets. We knew that. We grew up with that. Even in our board exam, we wrote that. We graduated because of that. But now it has changed. The 10th planet has been discovered. 11th planet has been discovered. So where did all that truth go? Does that mean that, what we have learned is wrong? And now science is getting more and more knowledge about things. So things like this always keep happening. So it is up to us that how we are changing our thought process. When we are, getting some knowledge about Krishna, how we try to apply it in our life, it takes practice, to change the scripts that are there in our mind and to be able to see, as Pandita Samadarshina, that how we can see everyone to be part and parcel of Krishna, recognizing the Paramatma in our heart. We can definitely practice, and one day we can become perfect by the mercy of Krishna. Jagdeep Patel. Janeshwar Goranga Prabhu, thank you for your question, Prabhu. You've asked that if the mind is very restless, then can have picture of the deity or Gurudev to focus it back? Yes, of course. If the mind is restless while chanting our japa, we can use that picture to bring our mind back to back to focusing on the holy name. Another thing that many devotees also do is they chant with Srila Prabhupada's audio, that they at least are listening to Srila Prabhupada chanting or chanting of, their Guru Vargas. So hope that helps, Prabhu. Thank you. Shamala Gopika, one more question. Paramatma also have beautiful form. It's mentioned here, but with small size. So what's the difference between Paramatma and personal Bhagavan feature? Please help to understand. Paramatma is the localized aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, locally residing in our heart. And Bhagavan, he is the supreme Virat form of the Lord, supremely independent. So like that is the only difference. The Supreme Lord is not measured in terms of any dimensions of this material world, so to speak. But the Paramatma is given this kind of a measurement, so that because he is the localized aspect that we understand him to be. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much. Radhika Ravi Shankar. I do not know who Sri Shuka or Srimati Radharani or how big he is, but by hearing their names and pastimes through your answer, oh, I get goosebumps. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Radhika again, we address as Srimati Radharani. Where exactly and when did she marry Sri Krishna? Any particular pastime? Why don't we continue this at a later time? But yes, Sri Krishna and Srimati Radharani's marriage actually happened many times. In the form of many pastimes. One pastime is when Lord Brahma had stolen the calves and the cowherd boys. And Krishna himself manifested as all of the calves and the cowherd boys in Krishna Lila. At that time, Purnamasi, she told that this is a very good time and we should get all the girls married to all of the boys. So all of the cowherd boys were none other than the manifestation of Krishna himself. So all the cowherd girls actually got married to Krishna at that time, during that 1 year that Lord Brahma had stolen the calves and the cowherd boys away. So that was one time. Then there was again another pastime when the sun god himself, Suryadev, Vivashwan, came and got both this divine couple married. Then also, it is also explained that in Bhandirvan, one of the 12 forests of Vrindavan, in Bhandirvan, Lord Brahma himself, performed the marriage ceremony of Srimati Radharani and Krishna. So there are many pastimes like this, and please stay tuned so we can hear more nectar. So thank you so much. I hope this answers all your questions. And we really thank each and every one of you, all of our YouTube listeners, our Facebook Live listeners. Thank you all very much. We will conclude here. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.